This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
And Mike Smith lets the bull roll. He's in front by 5 as they come to the quarter pole. But there is cause for concern. Concern comes on. Second on the outside. Tabasco Cat is well behind in third. They're coming down to the final furlong. Mike Smith asking Holy Bull for everything he has. Concern is coming hard under Jerry Belly. It's still Holy Bull desperately trying to hold. Concern a final thrust, but it is Holy Bull as game as a racehorse can be coming down to the wire. Holy Bull wins!
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Asano. On this morning's Travers Day show, Jimmy Jerkens will join us to talk about his 2 Travers starters. Local owner Roddy Valente will discuss hot stones in the ballerina. Jose Garoffalo will talk about Wildcat Red in this afternoon's King's Bishop. And we will also hear from Linda Rice on Kid Cruz, Mike Hushion on Artemus Agrotera, Tony Dutrow on the Big Beast, and Rusty Arnold on Center Court. We'll look back quickly at yesterday's personal ensign. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our August 23rd edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com. Good morning once again. Happy Travers Day. Just a reminder, first post early this morning at 11:35. All right, before we look ahead to today's stakes races with our numerous guests, Friday's personal ensign was contested over a sealed muddy track, and every dollar of late money went to number 6 Closed Hatches, who ended up the 9-5 favorite, with number 7 Princess of Silmar the second choice at 2-1. And boy, was the late money right. Completely dominant throughout after making the early lead much more easily than I expected. Of course, her rivals couldn't keep up in 46-3. Closed Hatches went wire to wire to win the personal ensign by 5 lengths over number 4 50 Shades of Hay, with number 2 Stanwick third. Princess of Silmar Racing in Blinkers finished a wide trip 5th. Closed Hatches is unbeaten in 4 stake starts this year and is clearly the leader of the division, although the Breeders' Cup, again, is at Beholder's home track. In my opinion, this was the finest effort of the year for Closed Hatches, whose previous 2014 victories included the Grade 1 Ogden Phipps and the Grade 1 Apple Blossom, the latter a weak Grade 1, but there was nothing weak about this performance. Closed Hatches in a personal ensign romp, the Spinster followed by the Breeders' Cup, in all likelihood the next 2 starts for the Billy Mott trained filly. All right, our first guest this morning has enjoyed a very fine Saratoga meet. He's only saddled 17 starters, 7 of them have come home winners, and he's got a pair for this afternoon's Travers and Wicked Strong and VE Day. And on Thursday, I had a chance to talk with Jimmy Jerkens. Jimmy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you. Congratulations on a fine meet thus far. Things are going well.
Yeah, they are. Let's hope it continues.
Let's begin with Wicked Strong. And let's begin with the blinker change for the Jim Dandy. What led to that decision?
I don't know. We were just trying to do something to, I don't know if shake him up is the right word. You certainly can't say that he wasn't showing up in his races. But we just thought the Belmont and the Derby, although the Derby did have an awful rough trip, we didn't think he was placing himself, with all the talent he has, what I've seen in the morning and everything, I didn't think he was placing himself in the races well enough at leaving himself too much to do all the time. Sometimes it works against you if they use themselves up too much. It works the opposite. We were just looking to split the difference a little bit.
I know you talked to your dad about it. What did he have to say?
He wasn't crazy about the idea. Really wasn't. He just, he doesn't say, he didn't come right out. He said, geez, I'm surprised you did that. And click, and that was the end of it. So I didn't take that as something that he was in favor of.
Well, we're about to take a look at the Jim Dandy, and for our audience, Wicked Strong, number 7, breaking from the extreme outside. So, Jimmy, tell us, what did the blinkers do for him in the Jim Dandy?
I thought he was going to come out just like he normally does, but Rajiv asked him a little bit too, leaving there. So I think the combination of I think they might have helped him break a little sharper. I think because he kind of and it might have made him behave a little bit. And he's always getting distracted, looking around and at things in the gate, and most of the time he breaks kind of flat-footed. But this time he looked like he broke very well, very good for him, at least with the field, which was good. And he heading to the turn, on the muscle. So that was pretty much what we were looking for with the blinkers.
What did Rajiv have to say to you after the race?
He just said he was there all the way. I had him in my hands, and pace. Although the pace wasn't something that should kill good horses,
Right.
It was certainly honest enough.
Right.
I was just hoping that run into the first turn wasn't going to tell on him late, but he was doing awful good going into the race and had a real good work. And I didn't think if fitness was an issue. I just thought just playing good enough. And right here, Rajiv does a good job of heading our horse out a little bit to discourage the oncoming tonalist a little bit right there. I thought that was a good move on his part. Horses are gaining, when horses are gaining, trying to gain on a horse while they're losing a little bit of ground, and then you head out into their path a little bit on top of it, it takes a little of the starch out of them.
You commented that Wicked Strong had trained, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, that Wicked Strong had trained as well as a racehorse could train heading into the Jim Dandy. Talk to us about that. You even used Secretariat when you commented on it.
Well, I don't know. He just some of the workouts he's done in his career have just been outstanding. I mean, his works before the Belmont were just, that's why we were so confident in him. Who knows? It might have been too much. We might have overdid it a little bit with him. I don't know. In hindsight, I was always thought of that. And leading up to this race, I was trying to split the difference again. I was the other day we worked him. It was a work that was very good, but it wasn't something that should have knocked him out. Or you could say to yourself, "Geez, that was a little too tough." So I'm hoping we accomplished that. But there's a couple of races I thought I might have, if anything, I think I might have overdone it with him a little bit in the morning.
Okay, let's see if we can quantify this a little bit. How did he come out of the Jim Dandy, and how's he training for the Travers in comparison to how he trained up to the Jim Dandy?
He's training every bit as well, but we haven't quite pushed him quite as hard in his workouts in the morning. We just let him pretty much do it on his own, which is usually good enough. I mean, he had a nice 5/8 work on the Oklahoma track, was deep that morning, and he went very well just on his own. And the other day, he was working, and I always put myself in the stand. There's a little stand at the quarter pole, and my rider always looks up at me to see if I give him any signals, whether to slow down or stay where you are, or I wave my arm a little bit, and that's to finish up a little bit. And from where I was standing, I was able to get him right leaving the pole, and I thought he was going good enough, so I basically just told him to stay where he was, and which he did. He worked evenly to the wire. So, and he galloped out pretty good on his own. So that was what I was looking for. I just wanted something that would hold him where he was, but at the same time I didn't feel like we were overdoing it too. I hope I'm right.
Let's talk strategy a little bit. This is fascinating because Bayern is obviously the speed. He's one-dimensional. but he's gotten awfully good in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Are you between, on paper, Bayern's the speed and you and Tonalist have tactical speed. I mean, are you guys in any kind of a difficult spot as far as you want to let Bayern go out there and be all by himself, but you don't want to burn your horse out chasing him? Talk about strategy a little bit.
Yeah, you got to, what is within your horse's limits, especially early in the race. You can't do something he hasn't done before and expect him to finish.
Right.
Especially going a mile and a quarter. So, at the same time, Bayern, it all depends. I think Rajiv will be able to tell how fast he's going up ahead of him. One thing about him, he seems to be a good judge of pace. Better than most jockeys. So I got confidence that he'll know when to pull the trigger, if he should, or whether he should, sit still and stay where he is for a while. He's ridden him enough now to where I pretty much don't really want to give him a whole lot of instructions. You pretty much give him a leg up and say good luck.
Good luck. How worried personally are you about Bayern being loose on the lead?
Well, you worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Again, like I said, you can't. There's other horses in the race. You can't. He might. He'll go off a slight favorite. You can't ride to beat one horse. I don't think. I think if you do that, you're asking for trouble. But again, I don't know. This will end up being a jockey's race, I guess. I'll just have to leave it up to Rajiv.
Well, you've got a second colt looking for your second Travers. That's V.E. Day. Basically a turf horse. Early in his career, by English Channel. What led to the decision to let's try him on the main track?
Well, when we got back from Florida, he out of the clear blue, he worked sensational on the dirt, on the Belmont main track. I mean, it blew me away. I couldn't, and then you could say, geez, you can't say it's fluky. I mean, whether they can do it or they can't do
right.
it, Belmont's main track tends to be very fast in the mornings most days, and some horses will work better over there than any other track, at least time-wise. But still, I thought I saw him getting bigger and stronger, and I thought when we had him in the maiden turf race and it came off, I didn't hesitate to keep him in there,
right.
And he basically walked out of the gate and fell way back out of it, and I was hoping Lascano wasn't going to say, geez, this is just a turf horse, I better just gallop him around the track. But he just felt him out a little bit, and he started getting his act together by himself, and you could tell by the middle of the turn he was going to be a tough customer to deal with, and he ran him down, and he beat a better field than you usually meet in an off the turf race,
right.
Too. So that made me feel good.
Well, we are about to take a look at the race which got V.E. Day into the Travers. This is his last start, the Curlin Stakes. For our audience, he's number 7. Jimmy, first time on a dry main track. Talk about this effort, if you would.
Well, I couldn't ask it to be any better. This is just what I was looking for. A big cavalry charge going into the first turn, and we'd be sitting back there saving ground. That's just what I was looking for. And again, I don't think they went overly fast, but there was a lot of clamoring up there of jockeys trying to find position and stuff like that. We were back there. C24. That's nothing. That wasn't anything that they should have been worried about. But at the same time, when you see a big clump of horses like that going into the clubhouse turn, it's uncomfortable for the horses. And we were back there just not getting involved in any of that, and I was happy about that.
Was this any kind of a surprise to you, or did you expect this type of performance?
I couldn't really say. I was kind of, I didn't really know. I thought he worked awful well before this race. I mean, he worked 7, 8, and 27 here around the 2 turns about 6 days before the race, just as good as any stake horse I ever had. So I was really confident that he was gonna at least run his race. Whether it was good enough to win, I didn't know, but I thought it was a good opportunity to try and run back on the dirt, run against 3-year-olds that are somewhat restricted. These were horses that weren't quite up to snuff to run in the Jim Dandy.
Right.
So I thought we were every bit in the same position that everybody else was, and it was the way he was working. I thought was worth a chance.
Well, he made his run around the far turn. He's rallying on the far outside, and Jimmy, it's really not that often here at Saratoga, going 9 furlongs on the main track, that winners come from out of the clouds, but he did this day.
Well, they can if they're saving ground all the rest of the way. You know, like that's the whole thing. You can do that when horses are coming back into your lap at the head of the stretch, but as long as you've been saving all the ground all the way, then you got your horse is fresh and the others are tiring. So that's where you want to be when you have a horse with this running style.
How did he come out of the Curlin? How's he been training up to the Travers?
He's been training real good. You know, we tried to give him a similar work the other day, which he did before the Curlin, but he went a little slower, which was okay. You know, he went a little slower, but finished up very good. And then we worked him a little bit yesterday, just half and 50 and change, and we just schooled him in the paddock right before I came up here to the tent. So I think he's as ready as he's ever going to be. You know, like again, it's a step up, but he certainly earned his. I think he certainly earned his way in there.
Well, Jimmy, as always, we appreciate your time very much. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch, and we want to show you our thanks by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill. It's at 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They're open daily for lunch and dinner, beginning at 11:30, and every time the text put that shot on the screen, I get very hungry. The food is wonderful. You'll enjoy it. So go and have lunch or dinner on us. And again, thank you and best of luck later this afternoon with both Wicked Strong and VE Day. Good seeing you.
Thank you very much.
Jimmy Jerkens, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again to Jimmy. Now, we just got a couple of scratches from the racing office, and one could be extremely important out of the Boston Spa. Day at the Spa will not contest the Boston Spa. She will likely go tomorrow in the Yaddo, and that changes the pace scenario completely in the Boston Spa, and Voodoo Tales is out of the Grade 1 Ballerina. And we are up to our first break on this Travers Day show. When we return, Mr. Roddy Valente will join us. As we go to this break from last week's show, Linda Rice discussing her first ever Travers starter in Kid Cruz. So we'll take a look at that going to the break. We will be back with Roddy Valente right after this. Now we are about to take a look at his last start. This is the Jim Dandy, and please pay particularly close attention. Kid Cruz is number 5. Now, you mentioned it earlier. Basically, he's at his best as a deep closer. I'm watching the start of the Jim Dandy, and he's being sent out of the gate. What in the world was this all about?
I was wondering the same thing, Mark. You know, I think that Irad had ridden him in his 2 previous starts, the Easy Goer and in the Dwyer. And in the Dwyer, there was one strong speed horse, Captain Sirius. And Irad rode him aggressively out of the gate just so he would not lose contact with that horse. And I think that he attempted to do the same thing in the Jim Dandy. And it didn't work out well. We were all wondering what's going on here. You know, what are we doing? And it was kind of an ugly trip. But I would rather have things go poorly in the Jim Dandy than next week, Saturday, in the Travers. So we're hoping things unfold better next time.
Yeah, I mean, normally, I've been in this game a very, very long time, and when you have a deep closer and you take him out of his element, good things do not happen. This was one of the most bizarre thirds I've ever seen in a major stakes race, considering the way he ran, and he never looked comfortable to me early on. You got to be pretty pleased with this third.
Yes, I mean, at the 5/8 pole, half-mile pole, I thought there was a chance we were going to be distant.
Yes.
You know, and he did finally get him to re-engage and make a big run. Only got beat 6 lengths. He looked actually the best in the race at the 8th pole, coming down the stretch. So we were encouraged by that, and at least he did show up to some extent where we felt that we could move on to the Travers. Thank God.
Now, you were somewhat on the fence about even running in the Jim Dandy or training him up to the Travers. Talk to our audience about that.
Well, we had run in the Preakness, and we had run in the Easy Goer on Belmont Day, and then on to the Dwyer. So we had a choice to make to run him back in 3 weeks again, which is a lot for a 3-year-old. So we considered going to the West Virginia Derby. It was a large purse, $750,000, giving him a month between races. But I spoke with all of my clients both Vinna Del Mar, Stephen Brandt, and Black Swan. And I think that all of us had in the back of our mind that our goal was the Travers, you know, for a lot of reasons. And so the best way to get into the Travers was to skip the West Virginia Derby, run in the Jim Dandy, and you know, see how it played out. So.
How did he come out of the Jim Dandy? Now, you don't train him a lot between, let me rephrase that. The workout patterns for Kid Cruz don't appear to be normal workout patterns in between races. Talk about that.
Correct. Well, last spring we'd had a few issues with him. He'd gotten a pinched nerve in his base of his neck in his shoulder, out of the private term stakes. So we were kind of nursing a little bit of an injury, and we had worked on his shoulder for a while. He had missed the Wood Memorial because of it. We ran on the private terms. We ran back in the Frederick Tessio and onto the Preakness. And as I said, he's not a strong breeze horse in the morning. He really needs a partner, some company to breeze with. But he's also not a big, heavy horse. He's a little light-bodied. He doesn't carry an abundance of weight, so I don't want to use him up in the morning. He trains strong every morning in his gallops and enjoys them. And I'd like to keep him strong and have weight on him into these races, which has worked well so far.
Will he be better going into the Travers than he was going into the Jim Dandy?
I think he will be. We were running back 3 weeks from the Dwyer. He'd run a strong race that day, was ridden every jump of the race because we were having to stay close to Captain Sirius, the one-speed horse. So, you know, I was reluctant to run him back in 3 weeks, was concerned about him making a regression, which maybe he did, and it was quite an ugly trip as well. With all that said, I really feel that he's coming into the Travers superb.
Now, we know Bayern is a very, very good racehorse who is doing exceptionally well. So that's another good racehorse you're going to have to beat. But the advantage is he adds a lot of pace to the Travers. So can we expect next Saturday, when the gates open, that Kid Cruz is going to relax early and then make a run?
Yes, I would certainly think that will help our cause to hopefully have enough pace to run into. And obviously Bayern is a big concern. I mean, you know, there's always a chance he'll go to the lead and never look back. But it should set up better for Kid Cruz this time.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Sovereign Stable.
Partnerships.
Ownership.
Winning.
Sovereign Stable.
The anticipation.
The excitement.
The thrill.
Top-level racing.
Sovereign Stable.
Join us in the morning on the backstretch of Saratoga Racecourse to experience the magic of thoroughbred ownership. Call 866-329-2WIN to meet trainers, jockeys, and watch sovereign horses on the track.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Casano. My thanks to Linda Rice. Our next guest this morning is going to have a very exciting afternoon in front of him. He is the owner of the ever-improving New York-bred Hot Stones, who starts in this afternoon's Grade 1 Ballerina. We welcome back to Down the Stretch Mr. Roddy Valente. Roddy, welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Mark.
Nice to have you.
It's glad to be here. Trust me.
So, it's Travers Day. You have a starter with a legitimate chance in a Grade 1 here at Saratoga. How exciting is this for you?
Mark, I ran into Anthony Mormino out front, and he says, how about you being up here on Travers Day? And, you know, I've been in the horse racing game for 22 years, but I probably frequented the track for closer to 50 years. And to be competitive and be competing on a Grade 1 race with a horse that we bred and, like you said, has a shot is a big day.
Well, you talked about breeding her. You sent her to the Saratoga sale, but you still own her. So what happened at the sale?
It was a situation where the horse basically did not vet from the throat. They scoped the horse, and the filly did not pass. So we bought her back. I basically called one of my friends, J.R. Casal, who was an owner with me on this, and Dr. Belinsky had bred the horse with myself, and I asked J.R., I said, you know, you want to take a piece of this horse. We kind of really like her, and, you know, we didn't think the throat was a question, but, you know, you could have 3 vets look at a horse and one will like him, 2 won't, or 2 will, 1 won't, and fortunately they didn't like her, but we like her a lot.
Yeah, I imagine you do. And I imagine you like this, as we're going to go back and take a look at the stretch run of the Better Roses. Hot Stones will be rallying 3 wide. Roddy, this was this first stakes winner from your outstanding racehorse and stallion, Bustin' Stones. So this must have meant quite a bit to you.
It really did, Mark. And, you know, this was her first time with blinkers, and Johnny had got off her the prior race and said to Bruce, you know, she shied away from La Verdad when she was coming down the stretch, and La Verdad beat her a half a length that day in a $200,000 New York bred race. And I think what you see right here, we shaded 22. We went 21 and change, going 7/8. We took a shot stretching her out last time, and I don't want to make any excuses because I'm not an excuse guy, but we were hoping for a fast track. We kind of got a wet track that day, Mark, and I think Johnny was in a drive with her the whole way. So for us to be in a race of that caliber and only lose by 3 lengths with everything against her, today I know everything should be fine as far as the track conditions, and cutting her back from 7/8 I think is going to hit her right in the eyes.
Well, we're going to actually take a look at the Shuvie in a moment, but back to the Better Roses, that was some finish. Did you realize you had won it?
I was there with my son, and, you know, I thought we won it, but, you know, you're down there with the rest of the owners, and you don't want to kind of like act like a fool and show that you won it if you did get beat, but it was an exciting day for us.
Well, this must have been an exciting day as well. This is the Shuvie. You decided to stretch her out to 9 furlongs. For our audience, Hot Stones, number 6, finishing 3rd, muddy racetrack. You mentioned it briefly. You kind of thought that Johnny had her in a drive for most of the 9 furlongs. What did he say to you after the race?
First of all, if I could just explain one thing to you. She came out of a sprint race, and she was sitting 2 lengths off a 45 half. She couldn't clear against these horses going 47. She was fighting the track. And the first words that John had said when he came back, got off of her, he said, "Rod, she didn't get beat today. The track beat her." He says, "She fought every step of the way, but she was just never comfortable today." And you know, just to be within 3 lengths of that caliber of horse just shows the heart that she does have.
Why did you decide, you and Bruce, why did you decide to stretch her out to 9 when she had never been beyond a mile, and she's by a terrific racehorse, but he was a terrific sprinter?
Keep that in mind, but Bruce always wanted to run Bustin' Stones further than 7. When he did win the Grade 1 Carter, he said to me, "Roddy," he says, "I can't wait to run this horse in the Met Mile." And as you well know, we came up with a foot problem with him, and Bruce always swore to me, he says, "I don't care about his looks as far as being a sprinter." He says, "This horse is not limited to 7/8. So with this filly, we thought it was a good time to take a chance to find out what she could do, because if you follow her record, excuse me, she won going 2 turns on the bull ring at Aqueduct, going a mile, so it wasn't a 1-turn mile.
Right,
and you,
right.
as well, you know horses, most times a 1-turn mile will fool you, but 2 turns. So we thought this was a good race, that there wasn't the killers in there that were in basically
Right.
yesterday's Purcell and Son. And I tell you, and I just thought if we did catch a fast track that day, it may have been a different result. And I'm not taking nothing away from the first 2 place finishers. We ran 3rd, and that's the race. But another day we might go longer.
How did she come out of the Shuvie? How's she doing? How's she been training?
You know, in this game, you're as good as today, you're as good as yesterday. We have been so blessed. She is probably the soundest horse that I have ever owned. We were fortunate, and you know, people follow horse racing, and if you're a trainer or you're an owner that does pay attention, when you have the opportunity to come out of a graded race, and we're going to drop back from a 1 1/8 to a 7/8. Bruce only thought that she was going to be required to have 1 work, and she was doing so good, he worked her twice. And anything that I've learned in this game, you make a horse better by training. Most of the time, you cannot train a horse. And you know, you look at like a guy like Baffert, you look at a guy like Pletcher, they could lay into their horses because they got 10 other ones that are going to go into graded stakes. We have one, you know what I'm saying? And we were fortunate enough to, you know, train her. We couldn't be any happier with her going into this race. I mean, with all the stars aligned, we think we have a big chance today.
Is there any concern that coming out of a 2-turn 9-furlong race, now cutting back to 7/8, that she'll lose a little bit of contact with the field early?
Not at all. No, especially if we get a fast track today. If you read the race, and I know we talked about it earlier, if they got to run with La Verdad, you know, the inside and the outside have got to keep her honest. Or, you know, we all could be running for second. And I think we're going to sit a garden trip today. I mean, I think we'll sit right in behind the speed. And, you know, I don't think that dulled her up. I know the theory with the mile and an eighth, but she, like, if you watched her last race, she was swimming going into there. So I don't think that dulled her at all. And she's trained very aggressively in the morning.
Any idea what it would mean to you to win a Grade 1 at Saratoga?
Mark, I can't explain. You know, you could. Everybody has their own little trinkets at what makes you happy. Like when I get my head away from business during the day and you start daydreaming, like I daydreaming of win a stake race at Saratoga. I've done that my whole life, and I only had the opportunity once, her last race. And, you know, to me, this is like, you know, myself and my partners, this is to us, we live in this area. This is the Kentucky Derby. This is the Triple Crown race. This is everything, you know, right here. It's like we're local. We love the game. I'm still a kid at heart. When I come up here, you know, it's like going to see your first baseball game, and I went to Shea Stadium and I seen Willie Mays in center field and never forgot it. So I can't, like, I almost got to pinch myself that we're here.
That's great. That's terrific. Well, you know, we wish you all the best this afternoon. Hope she gets a clean trip and runs well for you. As always, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. And we want to say thank you in another way by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They're open for lunch and dinner every day beginning at 11:30. So take this with our regards. Hopefully, you can have a victory celebration at Jacob and Anthony's. Good luck this afternoon, Roddy.
Mark, thank you. I would just like to say one thing. I have a little grandson, Michael, and my daughter is with him right now. And I just want to say hello to them, too. They're at Albany Med, and we're going through a little thing, and I love you.
Okay. Wish you all the best. God bless you. Thanks, Roddy.
Thank you, Mark.
Good luck this afternoon. And we are up to our next break. When we return, Mr. Jose Garoffalo will join us as we go to this break. Back on our July 26th show, Mike Hushion talked about Artemus Agrotera, who will start in this afternoon's Ballerina. So we're going to take a look at that to the break. Back with Jose Garoffalo right after this. We're going to begin with Artemus Agrotera for our audience. She is number 1A in here. This is a state-bred, non-winners to other than, and your fellow trainers must have been ill when they saw her name in this race. Why this spot, Mike?
Well, I was very disappointed in her race before, and I wanted to find something out. And this, you know, if we were on the right track, I changed the way I trained her, and she seemed to be doing well, but I wanted to find out for sure. You know, we can go anywhere we want from this race. But right about halfway around the turn is when she did not run well, where we could see it. If the rider had to start nudging her at that time, I knew that I was in trouble. And when she ran big, he didn't have to. And when I saw her halfway around the turn and she was still taking him there, I felt very good about this race.
What specifically, what was the difference in training her up to this race versus the Acorn where she did not run well that day?
Well, I don't know if that's what made the difference, but I was a lot harder on her for the Acorn training her. If you look at her work tab, there's some just easy half miles, and the couple of days leading up to the race, I trained her very light, and she seemed to respond. You know, sometimes big, strong horses, you tend to want to train them harder, and that can be a mistake.
How did she come out of this romp, and will we see her again at the meet?
You'll see her. I'm not sure. Hopefully, you'll see her. She seems fine. I haven't decided for sure where she's going to go, but you know, I want to see what kind of a number she ran, and I'm not going to rule out the ballerina.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
The big day is here. You've told everybody. You've dressed the part. Your heart is pounding in your chest. Your horse is rolling down the stretch. He's coming. He's closing. He's the winner. You're a winner with Parting Glass Racing. PartingGlassRacing.com. PartingGlassRacing.wow.
Face it, most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to CapitalOTB.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. CapitalOTB.com.
Sovereign Stable.
Partnerships.
Ownership.
Winning.
Sovereign Stable.
The anticipation.
The excitement.
The thrill.
Top level racing.
Sovereign Stable.
Join us in the morning on the backstretch of Saratoga Racecourse to experience the magic of thoroughbred ownership. Call 866-329-2WIN to meet trainers, jockeys, and watch sovereign horses on the track.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano. My thanks to Roddy Valente for having joined us. Our next guest joined us several times this past winter and early spring to discuss his outstanding 3-year-old Wildcat Red, who starts in this afternoon's King's Bishop. We welcome back to Down the Stretch Mr. Jose Garoffalo. Jose, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me today, and I hope you guys have a good day.
Well, it's nice to see you here at Saratoga. It was quite a late winter and early spring for you and Wildcat Red. You won the Hushion, the Fountain of Youth, tough beat in the Florida Derby. But talk about what it's been like to have such an outstanding racehorse like Wildcat Red.
Well, it's been very exciting to have a horse like Wildcat Red. It was a horse that we bought in the last year, 2 years old in training sales, and we didn't pay too much money for the horse. And it's been very exciting to have a horse like him in the barn. And he has the ability or the gift to be a great racehorse, and he has us busy working here and everywhere we go to run with the horse.
Yeah, it's got to be exciting. Now, Wildcat Red shows up and gives his all almost every time, but he didn't show anything in the Kentucky Derby. What happened?
Well, the Kentucky Derby was a tough race for him. I think that he took a very bad step at the break. He got hit a bunch of times, and he couldn't develop his ability to run closer or to show his speed. The rider that day, Luis Saez, he was smart enough to keep the horse out of the race. So he took care of the horse. He protected the horse of an injury, and I think he did good. And that's why we have Wildcat Red Sound again running and today in the King Bishop and the previous races.
You freshened him up after the Derby. You brought him back in the Quality Road at Gulfstream. He completely dominated an overmatched field. Did that show you that he was back to his old self?
Absolutely, absolutely. After that race, he proved that he was in good shape after running the Derby when he had a lot of troubles. And he proved that he was ready to go back to his level. So he ran that race, he won very easily. Then we ran the Haskell, where he ran a very decent race, and now we are here in Saratoga for the King Bishop.
By the way, is this your first time running a horse at Saratoga?
First time ever. This is going to be my first race that I ever run here in this beautiful track.
That's pretty exciting.
Very exciting, very exciting. I'm very excited to be here. People has been very nice to me. I'm very happy. I'm really, really happy to be here. And we're making some plans to come back here next summer and maybe bring some horses string of horses and run here all summer long.
Beautiful. Sounds good. We are about to take a look at Wildcat Red's last start. This is the Haskell Invitational. He is number 8. Watch the break. He stumbles at the break. Jose, talk about this effort.
Yeah, he stumbles, but he recovered very fast. And he was going to take the lead or go after Byron, but Saez decided to raid him, and he hesitated a little bit. If you see the video, he tried to pull the horse to stay behind Byron, and I think that was a key factor in the race. I think that Louis should have been a little bit more aggressive and run right on the side of Byron or in front of him, and the race would have been a different race. We would have finished at least second, I think, if that was the case. But anyway, I was happy with the race. The horse did his job, and he came back in good shape. So I think the race could have been better, but I'm still happy with that race.
Yeah, I mean, even though you were forced to chase throughout, and every time Martin Garcia opened up a little bit on Bayern, you're forced to chase him. Wildcat Red held in there gamely to finish third.
Yeah, he had the ability to stay third. He didn't quit in the race. But when he runs in front or closer to the lead, he feels a lot better, I think. I think that running behind a horse is different than running in front of a horse. But that day Byron was a monster. Maybe we wouldn't beat him, but we would have finished second if we run closer, I guess.
All right, how'd he come out of the Haskell?
Excellent. He came back in good shape. I give him a week off after Haskell. He stayed in Monmouth for a week or so, maybe for 10 days. He trained there very good, and he came back in excellent shape.
Okay, you're turning back to a sprint this afternoon. He hasn't run in a sprint since the February 1st Hushion. Is that any concern to you?
No, I don't think there will be any problem with the shortening of distance. He's a very versatile horse, very athletic. He can handle that distance very good. So he ran in the Hutchison that day and won very easily. Then we went back to the long distance. And the 7-8 is not going to be a problem for him.
Now, only one listed workout since the Haskell. It was here at Saratoga a week ago, half mile in 49 and 2 breezing. Level with us. How good was the work? Are you pleased with it?
I'm absolutely pleased with the work. He just needed a maintenance routine. He's a very athletic horse. He doesn't need too much workouts before the races. He stayed in very good shape, and I was very pleased with the workouts, especially the way he closed. He closed the last 8 in 11 and 3 or 4, and he pulled up in 102 after that breeze, the 5/8 galloping out, and he was really good. That's all he needed. He's the kind of horse that don't need too much to do.
Let's talk strategy a little bit. You're drawn toward the inside in a race which on paper is filled with early speed. You talked about, when we were looking at the Haskell, that he's a horse who likes to be into the game. So what's the strategy this afternoon from post 2?
Well, like I always say, it's going to be a jockey's decision. We depend on the start, obviously. But it's a race with a lot of speed. He is part of the speed of the race. But at the same time, I think we can run close to the speed and see how the race develop during the race. So it's going to be a jockey's decision, but we absolutely have to be close to the lead.
But you're happy with the way he's doing coming up to the King's Bishop, because this is one tough race.
It is a tough race. There is a bunch of nice horses in the race, but we're going to try to do our best.
Well, you know, we've had you on the telephone with interviews several times, and we've enjoyed that, but it was great to meet you this morning in person, and we want to say thank you to you by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill. It's a wonderful restaurant at 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They are open daily for lunch and dinner, beginning at 11:30. So please take this with our regards. Have a nice lunch or a nice dinner at Jacob and Anthony's, and best of luck this afternoon
thank you,
with
Mark,
Wildcat
and
Red.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for everybody here in Saratoga for all your hospitality.
And good luck later this afternoon. We're
Thank
really
you very
looking
much.
forward to seeing him run.
Thank you again, and we'll be in touch.
Jose Garoffalo, ladies and gentlemen, we are up to our final break. When we return, well, we're going to talk to Mr. Rusty Arnold about center court in this afternoon's Boston Spa. We've got the upcoming stakes to look at and maybe a quick look at this afternoon's Travers. But as we go to this break, one of those who Wildcat Red has to deal with in this afternoon's King's Bishop is the Big Beast. And on our August 9th show, Tony Dutrow was here and discussed his talented colt. I want you to pay particularly close attention to two things during this brief interview. The August 9th workout that the Big Beast had, and what would happen, in Tony's opinion, if the Big Beast drew outside of other speed. Because in each of his last two starts, he drew the inside post. So we will listen and watch Tony Dutrow talking about the Big Beast, and we'll be back to wrap things up right after this. We're going to take a look at a very impressive entry-level allowance victory earlier at the meet from the Big Beast. And again, he's number one. Tony, this was quite a performance.
The Big Beast is such a big boy. He's the biggest horse I've ever trained.
Really? So he's appropriately named.
He's appropriately named. And he's very fast. He had the one hole, and you have to get away from there to get a position. And he did. He controlled the race, and it ended up not being much competition for him. Ran very fast, and once again, he's come out of his race excellent. He's going forward really well, and we're looking forward to his next upcoming race.
Which will be?
The King's Bishop.
The King's Bishop.
Yeah.
You know, he was impressive breaking his maiden, I believe it was early June, but this was a substantial move forward, I thought.
He's such a big horse, and it looks like both physically and mentally the last 6 weeks, this boy has turned the corner and grown into himself. Mentally as well, and since he won this race here at Saratoga, we've seen him with a lot of confidence, and his workout this morning was maybe the best work I ever saw in my whole career. So,
wow,
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that this boy comes forward like he's telling us that he is in the King's Bishop.
And for such a big horse to overcome the inside post 2 races in a row, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and we have this to look forward to. I don't know the scenario of the King's Bishop yet. I don't know how much speed's going to be in there. I don't know what post position he's going to draw. But I think it would be great if he'd get a little bit of post position where he wouldn't have to go the first part of it. And we don't believe that he needs the lead. So it's exciting to see just what's going to happen and how the beast progresses.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Sovereign Stable.
Partnerships.
Ownership.
Winning.
Sovereign Stable.
The anticipation.
The excitement.
The thrill.
Top level racing.
Sovereign Stable.
Join us in the morning on the backstretch of Saratoga Racecourse to experience the magic of thoroughbred ownership. Call 866-329-2WIN to meet trainers, jockeys, and watch sovereign horses on the track.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Casano. My thanks to Jose Garoffalo once again for having joined us. In a moment, you're going to listen to a piece of an interview with Rusty Arnold about center court in this afternoon's Boston Spa. But in case you missed it earlier, according to the racing office, Chad Brown has scratched day at the Spa from the Boston Spa, and that changes the pace scenario completely in that 8.5 furlong turf stakes. Now, Center Court is a Grade 1 winning turf mare who struggled the second half of last year. She is also coming off a very poor effort in her last start prior to today's Boston Spa, but she may have had a legitimate excuse. On our August 2nd show, Rusty Arnold discussed her. So here is Rusty Arnold talking about Center Court. Now, before we let you go, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite turf mares, and that's Center Court, who ran very well two-back in the Jenny Wiley. And for those of you who remember the Jenny Wiley, she did run 5th, but with that trip, she was 5th, beaten less than a length, but then she came back at Churchill. I expected her to run big, and she didn't. What happened?
She lost a shoe out of the gate. She ripped it off. If you go back and watch the break, there was a slight stumble. She broke to the outside. She ripped her right front shoe off. She wears glue-ons. She's had some foot issues through her career and ran a race without one, got out the whole way, couldn't handle it, and we had to give her some time off. We did that, gave her about 3 weeks back training. She's here. I think she's 100% now. We're headed to the Boston Spa.
Because if I'm not mistaken, she had some issues late last year. You got something diagnosed that you couldn't quite put your fingers on early.
She did. She went to Dr. Bramlage. She went wrong after the race at, I'll forget the name right now, but after the race at Belmont. It was on soft ground. Couldn't get her right. I thought I had her right. I ran her. Wasn't a good idea. We sent her to Bramlage. She had a muscle pull in behind that I hadn't found. Gave her some time, didn't do anything with her, and did some therapy work on it. Came back. Her first start this year was a very good race in Florida. We thought we were on the way. And again, the Jenna Wiley was a good race. Yeah. She got beat 3/4 of a length. Yeah. I know you don't like to say I was 5th, but it was a good race. And then everything went wrong. And now I hope we're back on track for a good fall campaign.
So you're confident she's back to the old Center Court?
I feel great right now about her. Now, we're still 3 weeks from her race. Right. I think she's going to work on Monday morning, but her work's here been good. Her fitness level is great, so I'm excited about having her back.
That's wonderful. Sounds great. It's interesting how the scratch of Day at the Spa will impact Center Court. You know, she's got natural tactical speed, so that scratch may benefit Center Court this afternoon. And the Boston Spa, one of 4 stakes on this card. Let's take a look at the lineup over the next week, the upcoming stakes here at Saratoga Racecourse. Remember, an 11:35 first post this afternoon. The Travers, the 145th renewal in race number 12. The King's Bishop in the 10th race. The Ballerina and the Boston Spa. Tomorrow is Saratoga Showcase Day. 6 New York bred stakes races. You know, there's only a total of 40 horses, not including the main track onlys, entered, and that includes 2 turf stakes. So that's got to be a little bit disappointing. On Monday, the Smart and Fancy Turf Sprint, as well as the rescheduled New York Turf Riders Steeplechase Handicap. Next Wednesday and Thursday will feature 2-year-old turfers. On Wednesday, the P.G. Johnson, and on Thursday, the With Anticipation. Next Friday, the Risk-Averse, a 1-mile turf race named for Pat Kelly's wonderful grass filly. And next Saturday, the Woodward, the Forgo, the Bernard Baruch, where we will hopefully see Wise Dan back, as well as the Prioress. So a major day of racing next Saturday. There is a look at the stakes races over the next week here at Saratoga. All right, let's wrap things up here, and time to thank all the folks who helped get this week's show on the air here on Travers Day at Saratoga Racecourse. Our associate producer, Julie Hoxie, Brian Dorenzo, and Nick Richards. Back in the control room in Schenectady, Pat Peretta directed and handled pre-production. Landis Burgess on audio. Thanks to Pete Persico for his help. Thanks to this morning's guests, Jimmy Jerkens, Roddy Valente and Jose Garoffalo. And thanks to those who joined us earlier at the meet, and we ran those interviews again, like Linda Rice and Mike Hushion and Tony Dutrow and Rusty Arnold. And thanks to our sponsors, Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com, and by Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga, where they are open daily for lunch and dinner, beginning in about an hour and a half at 11:30. Remember, first race post today, 11:35, a 14-race card. The Travers scheduled as race number 12 with an approximate post time of 5:45. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. Enjoy your Travers Day. It's a wonderful card of racing, so have some fun. We wish you good luck. Have a wonderful upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.